If I see it on somebody's profile, I'm like,
Hi.
are you studying it?
Hi, I'm listening classic.
Where are you from?
Hi. I like Beethoven.
Left.
Hi.
Not something I would like put on my Tinder profile.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I sit and watch. I've watched 900 episodes of
Yeah.
Naruto. I'd be like, and let's swipe.
Let's get it.
Let's get this bread.
Let's get this bread.
Let's get this cake.
Let's get this cake. Let's get this kimchi.
Yeah, kimchi cake.
Hi. I'm Sonu.
I'm a stylist.
Yeah, we are a couple living in Korea. We met on Tinder. Okay, right?
Yep, we
Yeah.
met on the internet.
Yeah.
Two fools on the internet getting along.
Mhm.
Who would have thought?
So we're going to talk about hobbies.
Hobbies.
Hobbies. Yeah.
What kinds of hobbies are we talking about today?
There's a funny graph in Korea. It's like a meme that, yeah, this.
We can like.
Yeah, this is the graph. Yeah. This side is dignifying, and this side is degree of fancy. How fancy it is.
Whether
Or-
you're flexing on someone
Yeah.
or not.
So
If you're bougie.
yeah, we just simplify the graph. So we're gonna talk about these things. So let's talk about shitty things first.
The shitty hobbies.
Yeah.
Well, you know how much I like to talk about shitty
Yeah.
stuff. I'm down.
In the graph, we can see watching animes and collecting figure at the bottom of both sides.
So
Right.
it's neither dignified nor a flex.
Yeah.
But I unfortunately would agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to go for the record here and say, like, I'm not opposed to anime. It's an interesting.
Yeah,
art
I've seen a
form.
lot of animes.
Well,
But
sure, but like, it's not something I would like put on my Tinder
Mm,
profile.
yeah.
I'd be like, I sit and watch. I've watched 900 episodes of
Yeah.
Naruto. I'd be like, and let's swipe. You know, that's not. It's not really an advertising point because maybe I also like anime, but we can talk about that later. So unless it's like somebody's job to like watch anime or something, I wouldn't necessarily like lead with that.
Anyway, I draw animation is okay,
Yeah.
but I watch animation is not okay.
Yeah, it makes me seem
Yeah.
like I'm just gonna be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, unless you're looking for somebody else who
Yeah.
only watches anime, there probably are people who just watch anime.
I mean, watching anime is okay, and liking anime is okay, but don't show it first.
Yeah, we don't have to illustrate
Yeah,
that
you,
right
can,
away.
you can be contextual. You can talk it later, while you're having deep conversation. You can say, "Oh, I kind of like animation. I've watched some good animations," but
true.
you shouldn't say, "Oh, I like anime," first. No.
Yeah. I think for
That's not
me,
good.
just like I'm not opposed. Like I said, I'm not opposed to anime. I've watched a lot of it myself, but I have so many other things in my life that I'm interested in that it doesn't come up first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
Same.
we've been
Mm.
together for what, a year now, and recently discovered that we've watched some of the same animes.
Yeah.
Like just recently, because it
That's
was like, oh wait, like oh man, you
Full Metal
watched-
Alchemist.
Yeah,
right?
you watched Fam.
Yeah. Fam.
Fame.
Yeah.
Fame. I got it back.
That's my best animation.
It's really good. It's actually really good. So yeah, I would agree that is neither dignified nor flexing,
Yeah.
and you know it's a fine hobby.
Yeah.
Probably I wouldn't advertise
yeah.
it right away.
And fishing. Right? Fishing. Fishing.
Fishing. We're gonna talk about this in every video. I just like
Fishing.
fishing is neither a flex nor dignified. So I think people
Agreed.
think that fishing is like a very like flexing sport because like look muscles. We can
Like-
show that
like
we're
this?
outdoorsy people, right?
Fish?
They're just like, look, I caught a fish. It's the size of my pinky, and there are other things that are also the size of my pinky. Sorry.
Or this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or you know the whole boat flips,
Mhm.
that kind of situation. I don't know. There's ways to like show that we're outdoorsy.
Mm.
I realize that on this chart, there's really no outdoorsy sports. If we
Climbing?
want to like show that
Hiking?
we're outdoorsy, like there's other pictures that we can show, and then maybe that other person is into fishing, but I would agree that fishing is
Mm.
neither a flex nor dignified. It kind of just makes me think that the person's gonna smell like a tuna can.
Hmm. aggressive.
I don't want any tuna can, please.
So in the graph, game is a little bit better than collecting figure or anime, but this, also underlooked. Yeah,
Do you mean like video
underdone,
games?
Yeah, playing video games and playing PC games. Usually, in Korea, I'm living in Korea. Playing games is more common than playing video games because we don't have any console here.
Right.
Usually play on PC, personal computer.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like most people in America play on like PlayStations and Xboxes and those kinds of, mostly PlayStations and Xboxes, right? So a lot of people are sitting at home like with the console playing like that. And I don't know, like I was a gamer for a long time and kind of like,
too.
you know how I've watched anime, I'm like, oh man, but like I like anime. Here's the thing though, as you know, as we are trying to find like long-term relationships with other people, for me personally, if I'm scrolling through like profiles, I'm looking at somebody on Bumble, Tinder, whatever, and they're like, I play video games, for some, this is, you know, probably bad on my part, but I assume that other person is kind of only doing that. And that might be that I used to only do that, so maybe I'm projecting. But it's really hard to socialize and play a video game. So kind of what I read when I see like, oh, like I play video games, are we going to have a chance to interact? Because like, love you. I remember when you were playing Grand Theft Auto and it was just like he was dead to the world. Yeah. You were just samang for like weeks at a time. We're going to have to translate that right there. But like, yeah, samang forever. Like just 100 times a day. And just, oh my gosh. It was really... Yeah, it was really intense. And so like at that time there's no socializing happening. So I think that's why games don't really function as a flex or dignified. Because
it's too common as well.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I've never thought about it.
Most guys play video game. It's not special and they look like kind of obsessed playing game.
I see.
Including me. So that's not attractive.
I guess that's true. Actually a good point. No, I'm not saying don't play video games. Just don't let it dominate every conversation that we have. Because it's okay to be like, I mean, there are some gamer nerds out there of all genders, right? So like maybe the person watching this, maybe you're like a huge video game nerd and you're like, oh man, but like that's all I do. That's cool because there are girls who play video games too. There are people, like I said, all genders. So if it is a really big part of your life, there's nothing wrong with showing that. But if you have other hobbies or you're like trying to advertise to a different market, like just think about your audience, right? Yeah. So like if I put in my profile, I play video games, probably the people that are going to swipe on that are people who play the same thing or like are interested in the same thing. So if you don't want a relationship that is surrounded by video games, don't lead with that, right? If you want a partner that you're going to play video games with all the time, then you could be like, oh, like video games, what do you play? And then, you know, there's opportunities from there. So it depends on what you want. Note for Korea, most Korean girls do not play video games. So if you're looking for a Korean girlfriend, wouldn't lead with a video game.
And I just want to say in a little bit different perspective.
Sure.
Guys already know that girls don't like playing game. Like watching their boyfriend playing game, right?
Well, it's particularly here,
Yeah, particularly here. So if they know that and they still want to post on their Tinder, that means they are not social or they're not gentle to be opinionate. That's my opinion,
maybe. I think that's a very Korean thing, but I would agree with that for here in Korea specifically, for sure. Because like girls in America are just like, do whatever you want. Like it's a little bit.
Also, it's too common hobby for guys. So in guys' perspective, if I see a girl's profile written like, I like playing video game, it's good for guys. Right?
Yeah. That's true.
Because I feel like, maybe I can play game with her. I can be a good game friend.
Right.
Or I can approach her with different strategy, like playing video games or something. So I think it's about scarcity too.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like you're just thinking about the marketing technique there. I think just a quick note to add here is that both you and I, both of us, we have very like marketing minds. I wouldn't even really call it that necessarily in every regard of our life.
I always say relationship marketing. Relationship market.
Because you gotta you gotta think about your viewer, right? So who's the person that you want to appeal to?
Viewer.
Right. View who? Yep, gotta think about that. Gotta think about the audience.
So let's move out. This time,
Autobots roll out.
It's more flexing side, but it doesn't have dignify a little bit. I mean,
no dignity.
Yeah, no dignity, but a lot of flexing feature. Those are like playing basketball, playing boxing, baseball. Usually, it's kind of sports that doesn't require a lot of money.
So like hobby sports?
Yeah, hobby sports or professional sports.
Because I think if it's a professional sport, like let's say that, I mean, we live in Korea, there's a million soccer players. So if there's like a professional sports player, for me, I think it goes from flexing and it moves up in the dignity area, right? So it's like, Makes sense. If they're Ronaldo, obviously there is a serious amount of flexing, but also there's a lot of dignity in being a world-class athlete.
It's about hobby.
Right, but if it's like by daytime I sell insurance, but on the weekends I go and play soccer with my friends, like that's a cool hobby. Personally, I find that cool. And, there's a lot of flexing in that. I think it's a little dignified because it's better than just like being a slovenly how I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but like I think there is some kind of dignity in sports personally.
I think you don't have to show you're playing soccer or playing baseball or something, but if you prove that you're playing it, that proves you're kind of social person.
True, especially if it's a group sport. That's actually a good point.
Group sports.
Because if it's a solo sport, then it means, you've got a lot of motivation.
Yeah, motivation.
And that looks good for a partner.
Disciplined. Yeah, you look like disciplined and dedicated.
Yeah.
If you're playing social group sports, you look like social and kind of leadership. Yeah, leader.
Like you have leadership qualities.
Yeah, leadership qualities and followership qualities, which is better than nothing.
That's true.
Yeah, it's something, right?
Yeah, I think
playing any type of sports.
A good set of skills and like life missions. Because most people, like at least in my experience, especially in the city, if people leave their house, it's to like go to a cafe, And I mean that with love. I go to cafes all the time. We went to one today. However, most people don't leave their house to be active, right? So if I see somebody who's like being outside and they're being active, I'm like, ooh, flex.
I think having a sports hobby is really good for any type of perspective.
Yeah, it is. Not just relationship perspectives, but like relationship with yourself.
In general life.
General health. Yeah. Flexibility, wellness, strength. Yeah. It's good.
Work efficiency wise. Just anything, Let's play sports.
Yeah, sports is a good hobby for sure. So what do you think of like rock climbing and frisbee? It says it's a little higher on the dignified list.
Yeah, they said it's in the middle of the dignified one and flexing one. I think it's more rare.
I think so, and also like maybe this is just my personal experience because like I was a rock climber for a long time, and I know a lot of rock climbers. I don't think rock climbing is actually that dignified personally. And I mean that with love. I am a climber, right? So I'm talking smack about my own people here. I don't think it's a dignified sport. People literally take mattresses into the woods and climb boulders. That's not dignified.
in my experiences, people who do rock climbing had like more definite body.
That's true.
Fit body, because they can't do rock climbing if they have heavy body or.
I don't know. Jason Momoa is a very skilled climber,
Oh,
and that homeboy is large in like every way.
He's very fit.
I mean, true, but he's also
bulked and fit.
massive.
Yeah,
Imagine how much power you have to lift a body that heavy.
He's just strong and fit.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But, like, you can be both, right?
Yeah.
Or neither.
Also, talking about frisbee, the people who can play frisbee have dogs, right?
Sometimes.
It's something.
But not necessarily. You don't have to.
No?
You can play frisbee with a dog, but
really?
most of the time you just play with people.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry.
That's okay. I was like,
didn't know
does it mean they have a dog? You might be right. There's probably a toy that's. I've never thought about it. Oh yeah, I did play frisbee with my dogs when I was a kid. I never thought about that.
Having dog is very good advantage to have relationship.
It's true, unless they have an allergy. Lol.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine? You're like, oh, you're really like cute and sweet. Do you want to hang out?
Yeah.
I'm allergic
If
to
you
dogs.
If you have a dog, you can use dog as a bait. Like,
Dog bait.
do you want to see my dog or?
Wink.
Do you want to see my dog pain?
Red rocket.
Or you can show your like generosity or like friendship. What can I say?
Like friendliness.
Yeah, you can
That
show
you're
your
social?
friendliness or show social ability or being emotional to girl.
You're like, oh look, I'm
Yeah.
so caring.
Yep.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it doesn't work in the reverse. I think if a girl has a dog, this is going to be a very Korea thing. Koreans have small apartments.
Yeah.
Right. Our apartment's a notable exception, but most apartments here are really small. As a result, people have dogs that are the size of rats, and they call them dogs. And my personal opinion is that they are not dogs, but you can get mad at me all you want.
I'm okay.
They're like,
I'm just worried about
they're
Korean.
like, look, I have a dog, and it's like this big. I'm like, that's not a dog.
I'm okay.
I'm not actually judging,
You're
but
judging.
I mean a little bit. But it's just because my dogs were huge when I was a kid,
Okay.
and so when I look at people that are like, look at my dog, I'm like, why is it that small? Why is it so little? Anyways, but it makes sense. I actually think it's nice to get a smaller dog considering the apartment size.
Mhm.
Anyways, my point here of this ramble, my point being that I don't think it works the same way from girl to guy because there's like that belief that like, oh, women are so caring, which by the way, have you met American women? Because that's really not true. Just natively.
Just compared to
Me
guys.
included. And so like, you know, people think like, oh, she has a dog, well duh. But if a guy has a dog, then like straight girls are like, oh, dog.
A little bit, yeah.
Right, so it doesn't work the same in, you know, depending.
I heard that women feel attractive from guy who show their friendliness or caring to their family, especially for kids.
Oh, I see.
So when
for reproduction purposes.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. When some girls see that guy is like carrying some kids, in random kids, they feel fall in love.
I see.
That's what I heard.
So we gotta go find some kids so that
yeah.
you can flex, and then I can decide if you're fatherly material.
Yeah. Yep.
You've never done that to me.
Yep.
You're like, because I haven't stolen a kid.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't done it. LOL.
Being manipulative.
Yeah. LOL.
Sorry.
It's fine. I talk to plenty of kids all the time, and I hate them more every day. Just kidding. I don't hate the kids. Well, I hate like 5 of them. I hate like 5 of them. 500% of them. I'm just kidding.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's move on.
This is more. These are in dignified side, but not flexing that much. Those are reading and listening classic music.
Oh.
I think listening real classic orchestra or music is also flexing, but I think it's like just listening MP3 file. MP3 file classic music. right?
I guess
It's
if
not
you're
flexing.
not like streaming it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming because like how
If
do
you're
you know?
if you're listening classic music on Spotify, it's not flexing, but it's
It could be if you
yeah,
have a lot of
digging
followers.
fine. Yeah.
I feel like if I was like looking through profiles, because like I happen to identify as a woman, I'm attracted to men. So if I'm looking at men's profiles on there, and it's like I like classic music, I'm like, oh Chad, behave Chad. That's like a Chad or Brad activity. Sorry if your name is Chad or Brad. I just had some experiences in university that have colored my taste of those names. But if I saw somebody that was like, oh yes, like I listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony at least twice a week, I'd be like, oh, cheerio. Like I'd be waiting for, I don't know, I would be waiting for them to like have a bookcase made of mahogany and like, you know, has like tomes of leatherback books, and that's what I expect if somebody listens to classic music. Do we listen to it? No, we listen to jazz.
No. We usually just listen to jazz for work productivity, right?
Now we're flexing.
So do you feel a little bit cheesy when guys are saying like I'm listening classic or something?
If nothing has prompted it in the conversation, then it feels weird.
Yeah, it's
but if it's just like I'm talking about a song music, that I really like, and then naturally in conversation, which like if you have been following us, we also recorded another episode about how to have good conversations. You can give that a look. Yeah. But if I'm in a conversation and it naturally comes up and be like, oh, like what kind of music do you enjoy? If then they're just like, oh, well, I listen to classical music, then it doesn't feel like a flex. But if I see on somebody's profile, I'm like,
hi,
are you studying it?
Hi, I'm listening classic.
Where are you from?
Hi, I like Beethoven.
Left.
Hi, I like Bach.
Bach, clever.
Yeah. Makes sense. How about reading a book?
I think, I don't know, personally this one makes more sense to me to like put in a profile, just because like if I listen to classical music, so what? Like I don't know what bearing that has on my personality, I guess. But if somebody reads books, probably I'm gonna have more to talk to them about.
Do you think it's not flexing?
No, I don't think so.
How about this?
I think just
I'm reading medical physiology. It costs like $100.
Well, then I would be like, okay, Brad, and then I would left swipe. Because I'd be like, well, that's cool.
That's cool, left.
I'd be like, that's cool. I hope you enjoyed your student debt for medical school. Bye. Just kidding. If you see a hot doctor, you should swipe right on them. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like reading is really flexing unless it's like a list of all the books that you've read and you're just like, I've read every book by Hemingway and every tome of Charles Dickens. I'd be like, why? Because first of all, both of those authors, they're remembered for good reasons. I don't want to read any more of either of those authors. That shit is terrible. It has not aged well, frankly. So somebody's like, I read Of Mice and Men 17 times. I'm like,
I read Wordsworth.
I would want that person to explain to me for what fucking purpose. Because if you're like, oh, I've read all of John Steinbeck, my first question would be, do you hate yourself? Like, why? But I don't feel like it's flexing. I don't know. Short version, I don't feel like it's flexing. Do you feel like it's flexing to be like, oh, I read books, I use my noodle?
I think it depends on their context, but usually reading a book is a good thing to post.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's like a low-key flex.
Yeah. Low type of flex. Like, I'm having productive time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So it happens, right? When you date with someone, we try to not to text them like, oh, I'm just chilling. I'm just lying on the couch. Instead of...
That's actually a really good point.
We usually say that I'm reading a book, even though I'm just
like
watching TV. Yeah.
I'm watching anime and collecting figurines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. Yeah, it gives us a lot more to talk about, right? If we both read books because then we're like
White
thinking
lie,
about different stuff all the time.
Packaging also.
I would say eventually the other person's gonna figure out that probably you don't read books, so I would advocate not lying, because like if you go to somebody's house and they're like, yeah, I read all these books, and there's not like a single book in the house, I would be like, oh, do you use a Kindle? Like maybe they use a Kindle.
It's a transparent book.
Yeah, otherwise known as the back of my eyelids.
Yeah, only kind people can see it.
It's like the